If you're watching this, I want you to picture something. You're lying on your back, in your own bed, in your own house, and someone else's cologne is still hanging in the air. You can't move. You can't even blink. Because you just realized it's not your cologne. And you don't even wear cologne. Let me tell you how I got there. Part 1. The cologne I never bought. It started with a draft. No, not a beer. An actual draft. From our bedroom window. I went to close it that night, and that's when I smelled it. Sharp, musky, too clean. Like a hotel lobby in a bottle. I stood there, eyes squinting like some clueless detective, trying to convince myself it was her new shampoo. Or maybe some department store sample she brushed past. But Casey doesn't change shampoo. She buys in bulk. Online. The same brand for 6 years. I know because I accidentally subscribed to monthly deliveries. So I did what any insecure, overthinking, slightly paranoid husband might do. I sniffed her pillow. Not mine. Hers. It smelled like, not me. Now, I'm not athletic. I'm not exciting. I write back-end code for a supply chain app, and my hobbies include reheating leftovers and losing at fantasy football. But I wasn't stupid. The next morning, she acted normal. Too normal. Made me a smoothie, which she never does unless she's hiding something or the blender's about to break, and she wants me to fix it before it dies. She handed it to me with a kiss on the cheek and said, "I'm just having coffee with a friend later, so don't wait up." I asked who. She blinked. Too long. "Oh, you don't know him. Just a friend from a client dinner." Him. I didn't ask for the name. I just nodded. Because sometimes silence says, I already know. She left. But she forgot her iPad. And you already know what sync devices do. I wasn't looking for anything. I was just confirming what I already felt in my bones. And there it was. A message. Just having coffee with the guy you said had the worst marriage ever. Guess what? Not anymore. Faced with tears of joy. I don't know what happened inside me in that moment. But I replied. Not to her. To him. From her phone. Ask your wife if she enjoyed the pictures. No context. No warning. Just sent it. 30 seconds later, my phone rang. It wasn't Casey. It was a number I didn't recognize. A woman's voice. Shaky. Angry. Hurt. Who is this? I didn't know what to say, so I told her everything. And that's when the real story began. The silence after her question felt like a vacuum. I could hear my own pulse in my ears. Who is this? She asked again, sharper now. Her voice wasn't soft or curious. It was furious, like she already suspected the answer, but needed me to confirm the horror she'd been denying. I swallowed and said, "My name's Ellis. I think your husband's having coffee with my wife." There was a pause, not the kind where someone is processing information, but the kind where someone's heart shatters on the other side of a phone line. Then came the breathing. Shaky, uneven, and then a whisper I'll never forget. He said he was in Atlanta for a conference. I could have stopped there. I could have apologized, hung up, and let the universe handle it. But something had cracked open inside me. Years of feeling like a side character in my own marriage. It all exploded in that moment. I think we both know, I said. They weren't drinking coffee. And this isn't their first time. She didn't hang up. She didn't scream. She just asked, "Do you have proof?" I did. Screenshots. Location data. Messages. Photos. The whole rotten timeline. "I'll send it all," I told her. And I did. Meanwhile, Casey texted me. Just one line. "What the hell did you do?" Not sorry, not explain, not even wait. It's not what it looks like. Just pure panic. Her whole tone changed. I could imagine her staring at her phone, watching her fantasy life collapse like wet cardboard. And I wasn't done. I walked into our bedroom, that same air still thick with the wrong scent, and pulled our wedding photo off the wall. Not dramatically, not like in movies. I just took it down. Quietly. The frame felt heavier than usual, like my denial had been adding weight to it over the years. That's when her friend Kara called me. Kara never calls me. She barely talks to me when we're in the same room. "Ellis, hey. I know this sounds crazy, but Casey's freaking out. She says you texted something to someone? Something about pictures?" I almost laughed. "Yeah," I said. I asked her coffee buddy if his wife enjoyed the ones Casey sent him from our bed. Kara went quiet. Dead quiet. Then, softly, she said, "I told her this would happen. I told her she was being reckless." "Wait," told her. "I asked you knew." She sighed. "Not everything. Just, I saw the messages once. Last year. I told her she was playing with fire. I didn't know it went this far." My heart wasn't even breaking anymore. It was just hollow. I thanked her for her honesty, hung up, and sat down on the couch that was apparently no longer ruining Casey's spine. 5 minutes later, the door slammed. She came in, cheeks flushed, breathing fast, phone in hand, ready for battle. You told his wife? Are you insane? I didn't stand up. I didn't even raise my voice. I just looked at her and said, why? You were only having coffee, right? Isn't that what you told me? Her lips parted, but no words came out. For once, Casey, quick-tongued, always in control Casey, had nothing. And I wasn't done yet. Casey stood in front of me like a stranger wearing her skin. She had this look, not guilt, not sadness. Something closer to contempt mixed with desperation. Like I'd ruined her night. Like I was the one who'd crossed a line by refusing to keep pretending. You don't understand what you've done, she said, and I'll never forget that sentence. Not because of the words, but the tone. It wasn't regret. It was a warning. I stayed seated. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just said, then explain it. Help me understand why you've been sending pictures to a man who keeps his baby monitor in the background. Her face twitched. The facade cracked for just a moment. It's not what you think, she said, pacing now. It was stupid. It didn't mean anything. It was a distraction. You were always busy. Always tired. I needed to feel wanted again. Wanted? I thought about all the nights I stayed up late massaging her feet because she couldn't sleep without it. The meals I cooked when she said she was too exhausted to think. The new espresso machine she wanted because he liked coffee. And now it all made sense. You weren't just having coffee, I said. You were rehearsing a new life. One where I paid the bills and he got the benefits. She flinched. Don't be dramatic. That word. Dramatic. Like I was putting on a show. Like watching your marriage unravel in real time was a performance. I stood up, finally. Not to confront her, but to get some air. Because the walls were starting to close in, and I couldn't breathe around the lies anymore. As I passed her, she grabbed my arm. Wait. Please. Don't do this. Don't blow everything up because of one mistake. I pulled away. One mistake. I picked up the printed screenshots I had laid out earlier on the dining table. 8 conversations. 3 months' worth of messages. Multiple cities. 1 hotel receipt. Booked under a fake name I tracked back to her PayPal history. A fake name she thought I'd never see. But she forgot the guest email address was ours. I handed her the stack. This isn't a mistake. This is a lifestyle. She didn't look at the papers. She just sat down and covered her face like a kid caught cheating on a test. Then my phone vibrated. It was the other wife again, the one I'd spoken to earlier. She had sent a single message. He just admitted everything. Said it started last fall. You were right. I showed the screen to Casey. Her hands slowly dropped from her face, and something else replaced the panic. Relief. Not the kind of relief that comes from being forgiven. The kind that comes when you no longer have to lie. I was going to tell you, she said. When? I asked. Before or after I bought you that couch you wanted? She didn't answer. Just sat there in silence, her fingers slowly folding and unfolding one of the screenshots like origami. I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized something awful. She had already grieved this marriage. I was just catching up. And then she smiled. Faint. Sad. Almost like an apology wrapped in defeat. But I wasn't accepting it. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat at the kitchen table, staring at the glow of the refrigerator light flickering every few minutes like some kind of countdown. Casey went to the guest room and closed the door without another word. No fight, no tears, just retreat. And for a moment, I thought maybe I was the crazy one. Maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe 3 months of lies weren't enough to detonate everything we'd built. But then around 3 a.m., I remembered something. The cloud. Not the one in the sky, the one in the settings of our shared drive. I'd set it up for her last year, linked to both of our devices. It was mostly full of boring stuff, receipts, design mock-ups for her freelance work, screenshots of recipes she never cooked. But I hadn't checked it since, well, before she started meeting friends for coffee. I opened the folder, and there it was. A subfolder buried beneath client invoices and vacation photos. Miscellaneous. Inside were 6 files. 5 of them were videos. No labels. Just timestamps. And a name. Hotel Beacon, March. Office, after hours. Driveway pickup. And the last one. Home, while he slept. I couldn't bring myself to open them. I just sat there, heart thudding in my ears, staring at that final file. That title. While he slept. She'd recorded something. In our house. While I was asleep. I don't know if it was for him, for her, or just a trophy. But that moment, seeing the name of that file, hit me harder than anything she'd said to my face. Because it meant she knew. She knew I was there, sleeping a few feet away, completely unaware, while she built this secret life inside the ruins of our marriage. I backed up the folder. Sent a copy to myself. Not out of revenge. I didn't want to leak anything or blow up her world. I just needed proof. Because at that point, I didn't even trust my own memory anymore. I needed to know it happened. That I wasn't hallucinating betrayal where there was none. At 6:12 a.m., Casey walked into the kitchen wearing the same hoodie she always used to steal from my closet. She didn't say good morning. She just poured herself coffee and asked, without looking at me, "Are you going to tell my parents?" It was such a cold, mechanical question. "No, I'm sorry. No, let's talk. Just concerned about who else would know." I said, "They'll find out when you move your stuff. I'm not doing your PR for you." She winced like that line actually hit her. She turned to face me and said, "You really think they'll believe you over me? Over us?" That part made me laugh. Not because it was funny, because it was so her. Still trying to manage the optics. Still acting like the betrayal had a marketing angle. And that's when I asked, "Do you believe you anymore?" She opened her mouth, closed it, then quietly walked back to the guest room. No fight, no slamming doors, just gone. And as I sat there, I realized something even more disturbing than the lies. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was afraid of losing the version of herself she showed to other people. And that's when I decided, this wasn't just going to be a quiet goodbye. Not this time. The next morning, Casey was gone before sunrise. No note, no text, no noise. Just an empty closet space where her laptop bag used to sit, and the smell of her shampoo still hanging in the hallway. I thought she might have gone for a walk to clear her head. But I checked the iPad again. She'd turned off location sharing sometime around 5:17 a.m. That told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't walking. She was running. And I finally understood. She wasn't trying to fix anything. She was already in damage control mode. I should have felt free. Instead, I felt like I was unraveling. That morning I skipped work and did something I hadn't done in years. I opened her old backup drive from when she first started freelancing. I was looking for one thing. Her client list. She'd always said she was booked solid, always meeting with people, always brainstorming. I wanted to see if any of those clients matched the names from her messages. Maybe I was hoping there was a sliver of truth hidden in the mess. But here's the kicker. One of her biggest clients didn't exist. L.T. and Company, the one she said she flew to Portland for in February, the one who paid in crypto and never wanted Zoom calls. It was fake. The logo was a Canva template. The website was a single page, no working links. The business registration? Canceled in 2019. I knew what that meant. It wasn't a client. It was a cover. For the trips. For the dinners. For the nights she disappeared. I went back through my credit card records. She always said she used her own cards for business. But one charge stood out. A hotel reservation under my name. February 12th. In Portland. She was supposed to be staying with a client's team, right? Except she booked a 2-person suite, and she left no receipt in our files. I called the hotel, told them I needed an invoice for tax reasons. They emailed it, and that's when my stomach dropped. The reservation was for Ellis and Partner, except I was in Chicago that weekend, at my nephew's birthday. I literally had cake in my hand while my wife was sleeping next to a man under my name. And then, as if the universe wanted to twist the knife, I got a DM. From a burner account. No photo, no name. Just a single message. Check the Portland suite camera. Room 428. February 12th. I froze. Who sends something like that? Who knew about that night? I called the hotel again. Asked if they had in-room security. They said no, of course. Standard policy. But then the clerk said something weird. "Oh, wait. Did you mean the portable camera? You requested one for conference recording, right?" I never requested anything. But Casey? She used to film all her branding workshops. I remembered now. She traveled with a little Canon camera. She'd once bragged about setting it up to record client feedback sessions. I ran to the closet and tore through the storage bins until I found the case. The camera was still inside. Battery dead. I charged it in complete silence, not knowing what I was even hoping to see. When it turned on, there were 2 videos. One was just her, alone, talking to the camera about some mock campaign. Completely harmless. Just boring marketing jargon. The second one, a different setting. Softer lighting. 2 glasses on the nightstand. The video started with her saying, "He doesn't suspect a thing." I even told him I was cutting carbs so he wouldn't notice the dinner receipts. I didn't watch the rest. I couldn't. I sat there, staring at the camera, wondering how long I'd been asleep in my own life. How many nights I thought she was working, when really, she was filming confessions like it was a twisted game. And I realized then, I wasn't just her husband. I was her alibi. The day after I found the camera footage, I did something I never thought I'd do. I took a sick day, not for the flu, not for a dentist appointment, just to sit in my own silence without pretending everything was okay. I couldn't focus, couldn't think. My wife, the person I had trusted more than anyone, had used my name to rent rooms, fake business trips, even record herself laughing about it. And the worst part? She did it with the same calm voice she used to order Thai takeout. But I wasn't done digging. I remembered Casey had once mentioned she was hiring a bookkeeper to help with taxes. She was always vague about it, said it was someone she found on LinkedIn. I checked her email for invoices. Found nothing. But her PayPal history told a different story. There were recurring payments, same amount, twice a month, to someone listed as R.S. Consulting. No full name, no description. But I clicked on the profile, and there it was, the same profile picture from one of the contacts in her phone. Not a bookkeeper. A guy named Russell. Russell was the one who sent her messages at 2 a.m. about long meetings and missing her laugh. And now, it looked like she'd been paying him. I couldn't tell if it was hush money or some twisted form of affection, but either way, she used our joint funds for it. I had been funding my own humiliation. I finally confronted her that evening when she came home, pretending to be exhausted from a client dinner. She kicked off her heels and sighed. "You wouldn't believe how chaotic this campaign is." I said nothing, just slid a copy of the PayPal statements across the table. She stared at them, jaw tightening, eyes scanning too fast to even process. She said, "What is this?" I said, "The consulting firm you've been sleeping with." Her shoulders dropped like I'd taken the wind out of her. No denial, no gaslighting, just one word. "Okay." That was it. "Okay." I asked, "Was there ever even a real client? Or have I been living in the background of your social experiment this entire time?" She sat down, quiet, like she was finally ready to be honest, or maybe just too tired to lie anymore. "I didn't plan for it to go this far," she said. "It started as flirting. I was just bored. I wanted to feel like I had options." "Options?" I repeated. "You wanted options, so you turned our marriage into a team project?" She flinched, but didn't argue. I stood up, walked to the door, and said something I never thought I'd hear myself say. "I'm removing my name from everything except the deed. If you're going to use someone else's name, it won't be mine anymore." She didn't follow me, didn't shout. She just poured herself a glass of wine, like none of it even registered. And I realized, she wasn't shocked I found out. She was shocked it took me this long. The night after our last conversation, I didn't go home. I couldn't. I sat in my car outside the old sandwich shop where we had our first date, of all places. It was closed, of course. But I remembered how she used to smile at me across that tiny, chipped table, how she'd steal fries from my plate and laugh like I was the most interesting man she'd ever met. I don't think I ever actually was. I think she just liked the idea of me, the quiet guy, the stable guy, the one who wouldn't ask questions when she worked late 3 nights a week. When I finally pulled myself together and drove back home, I saw her car in the driveway. Engine off, lights still on inside. She was in the passenger seat, speaking on the phone, completely unaware I was watching. I parked down the street and walked up silently. Through the window, I could hear bits of her voice. "He doesn't matter anymore. It's already done. Yeah, he'll sign. He's too passive to make a scene." That word, passive, like I wasn't even a person anymore, just an obstacle to be handled quietly. I didn't confront her. I just walked past the car and into the house, turned off the porch light behind me, and sat in the living room with the lease documents for our condo spread out across the table. Not divorce papers yet, not officially, but all the pieces were starting to fall into place. The next day, I received an email confirmation for a dinner reservation in my inbox, a high-end place across town, the kind you only go to for anniversaries or proposals. I was confused. We hadn't booked anything. I opened the reservation details and saw it was made by her, using our joint account, but listed for 2 guests. Just 2. Her name and someone else. The confirmation was auto-forwarded because she used our shared Gmail once for OpenTable. She'd forgotten to remove me. I called the restaurant and asked who the second guest was, pretending to be confirming for the evening. The hostess said, "Yes, Ms. Ayers and Mr. Russell. We have them at 8 p.m. by the window." Russell, the fake bookkeeper, the late-night message sender, the one she'd told me she hadn't seen in months. It wasn't just an affair anymore. It was a transition. She was already scheduling her next chapter, reserving tables with new names, rewriting her life before mine was even closed. I didn't show up to the dinner. I didn't call her. I didn't beg or rage or spiral. Instead, I changed the locks. Not in a vengeful way. Legally, I still had every right to protect the home. I left her a message. Simple. 1 line. Dinner's canceled. So is everything else. And I left the rest to unravel on its own. That night, she didn't come home. And for the first time in months, neither did her lies. She didn't come back the next morning. Not even a knock, not a call, not a passive-aggressive text. Just silence. And honestly, that used to terrify me. The silence. I used to think it meant something was broken. But now, sitting in that house without her perfume poisoning the air, without her voice filling every corner with excuses, it finally felt like peace. I spent the weekend boxing up her things. Not angrily, not bitterly, just methodically, like I was packing away someone else's storm. I labeled everything clearly, set her boxes by the door, and left her a note taped to the top one. No lies included. "You're welcome." I didn't have some big dramatic meltdown. I didn't burn her stuff or call her family or make a viral post. I just reclaimed my space. Every drawer I emptied felt like unclenching a fist I didn't know I'd been holding for years. I even replaced the couch, the one I almost bought for her, with something I liked. Cheaper, smaller, but mine. And then something strange happened. I started laughing again. I started sleeping better. I took long walks in the morning with no destination. I even signed up for a ceramics class, something I used to joke about, but never had the guts to try. Turns out, I'm terrible at it. But I like being terrible at it. A few weeks later, her mother texted me. She'd heard some version of what happened. She said she was sorry, that she hoped I was okay. I told her the truth. I'm not okay. I'm better. Because I am. Because in losing her, I found something I never had in our marriage, clarity. Casey always said I was boring. Safe. Predictable. Maybe I was. But now I realize, boring doesn't break trust. Boring doesn't fake clients, gaslight partners, or schedule new relationships before the old ones are over. The last I heard, she moved out of state. Probably spinning news stories with someone else. Probably sipping coffee with another friend. And that's fine. That's her story now. It's no longer mine. As for me, I still have the screenshots, the receipts, the truth. But more importantly, I have peace. And a small, ugly clay bowl on my kitchen counter. Lopsided, cracked, absolutely useless. But I made it. With my own 2 hands. And no one lied to get it.